Our top 3 stories from history that appear too crazy to be real. Number 3. The escape from Java. In 1942, during World War II in the Pacific, the sprawling 600-mile island of Java in the Dutch East Indies was falling to the Japanese. The Allies had decided to withdraw, but, in the rush, 18 Americans were left behind. With Japanese fighters attacking the airfield, the 18 were alone and in an extremely dangerous position. At this stage the only way to leave Java was by air, and the only one of the Americans able to fly was a young pilot, Gerald Karamizin. After a quick inspection of the airfield, he noted that there were 4 damaged aeroplanes, 3 flying fortresses and a B-18. Of those 4, the only machine he felt comfortable flying was the B-18, but it was unflyable. So, a technical sergeant by the name of Harry M. Hayes got to work to repair the machine. After 2 days he believed it was ready. That afternoon the airfield was attacked again, and all the work done was completely ruined. The B-18 would no longer be an option. Not to be deterred, Hayes then took the best of the flying fortresses or B-17s and started the process of repairing it, by cobbling together all kinds of makeshift spares and patches. He stole working parts from the other 2 fortresses to make it work. After 3 days, he felt it was ready to go. But as Gerald couldn't fly this plane, Hayes stepped into the pilot's seat with Gerald in the seat next to him as co-pilot. Just as they were getting ready to take off, they were viciously attacked. As they had no armament, they remained on the runway and did not get airborne as they knew they would be shot down. They just prayed that they would not be again damaged or killed. After the attack was over, it became clear that they had been miraculously avoided additional damage and death, so they took off and swept into the sky. They navigated by sight as they had no working instrumentation. But eventually, with the man who had never flown at the controls, they landed safely in Australia. Number 2. Caesar and the Pirates. The rugged region of southern Anatolia known as Cilicia Trachea, rough Cilicia, was covered with pirates and their extreme actions terrified the Romans. In 75 BCE a band of Cilician pirates captured a 25-year-old Roman nobleman named Julius Caesar, who had been on his way to study in Rhodes. This would prove a minor problem for Caesar and a major one for the pirates. Caesar simply wouldn't behave like a captive. When the pirates told him that they had set his ransom at the sum of 20 talents, he laughed at them and suggested that 50 talents would be a more appropriate amount. He then sent his entourage out to gather the money and settled in for a period of captivity. The pirates must have been astounded that their captive was negotiating the ransom up. Caesar made himself at home, taking charge of the pirates by bossing them around and shushing them when he wanted to sleep. He made them listen to the speeches and poems that he was composing in his unanticipated downtime and berated them as illiterates if they weren't sufficiently impressed. He would participate in the pirates' games and exercises, but he always addressed them as if he were the commander and they were his subordinates. From time to time, he would threaten to have them all crucified. They took it as a joke from their extremely weird captive. But it wasn't. After 38 days, the ransom arrived, and Caesar was set free. Somehow, he managed to raise a naval force in Miletus, despite being a no-one at this stage, and he set out in pursuit of the pirates. He found them still camped at the island where he had been held, and he brought them back as his captives. When the governor of Asia seemed unsure about punishing them, Caesar went to the prison where they were being held and had them all crucified, just like he promised. Number 1. The New England Vampire Panic. This was the reaction to an outbreak of tuberculosis in the 19th century throughout Rhode Island, eastern Connecticut, southern Massachusetts, Vermont, and other areas of the New England states. Tuberculosis was thought to be caused by the deceased consuming the life of their surviving relatives. Bodies were dug up and was deemed to be feeding on the living if it was determined to be unusually fresh, especially if the heart or other organs contained liquid blood. The internal organs ritually burned to stop the vampire from attacking the local population and to prevent the spread of the disease. Notable cases provoked national attention and comment, such as those of Mercy Brown in Rhode Island and Frederick Ransom of South Woodstock. Mercy's mother contracted tuberculosis which spread to the rest of the family, moving to her sister, her brother, and finally to Mercy. Neighbors believed that one of the family members was a vampire who had the illness. 2 months after Mercy's death, her father George Brown, who did not believe in the vampire panic, reluctantly permitted others to exhume the bodies of his family. They found that Mercy's body had hardly decomposed and that she still had fresh blood in her heart. They also claimed that she had turned around in the grave. This was enough to convince the villagers that Mercy Brown was the cause of the tuberculosis. The heart of the exhumed body was burnt, mixed with water, and given to her surviving brother to drink in order to stop the influence of the undead. Frederick died of tuberculosis in February 1817 at the age of 20. His father was worried that Ransom would attack his family, so he had him exhumed and his heart burned on a blacksmith's forge. What made this case noticeable was that Ransom was a Dartmouth College student from a well-to-do family, and it was extremely unusual that he would fall victim to the panic, which was most common among less educated communities. Dark Histories is committed to history and understanding it better. We hope you have enjoyed these fun and exciting stories. Please remember that they are completely true. Until next time. Please do subscribe, drop a like if you enjoyed yourself, and please do check out our other videos.